There we go. Thank you. All right, so welcome to ION Tokyo. Thank you all for coming. I apologize, I do not speak Japanese, so we're doing translation today. Hopefully everyone will be able to follow along that way. This is actually a picture I took the last time I was in Tokyo in January, and I fell in love with this city, so thank you for welcoming us back. I want to talk a little bit first about the Internet Society and who's bringing this all to us. The mission of the Internet Society is to promote the open development, evolution, and use of the Internet for the benefit of all people throughout the world. And we're doing our small part of that here today. There's three pieces of the Internet Society, three pieces of work that we do. Policy work, working on ensuring that government regulators and other policymakers help foster the growth of the Internet and not get in the way. We also work on the development, which is a lot of times human capacity development, such as training and other activities to help build out the Internet physically. And then, of course, technology, which is where my team within the Internet Society sits on advancing technologies throughout the world that will help the Internet to continue to grow. The Internet Society itself was started originally as the administrative home of the IETF. And since then, we've grown quite a bit. We now have a global presence. There's more than 100 chapters throughout the world, over 65,000 individual members, and over 145 organizational members. We've built out 6 regional bureaus. We cover basically every continent except Antarctica through a regional bureau. And there are actually 18 countries with an Internet Society office in them. Inside of that very large scope, the deployment and operationalization team who is putting on this event here today is consisted of just 4 folks. It's myself, Dan York, Megan Cruz, and Jan Zors. The deployment and operationalization team, or the DO team, works on 3 major projects. Deploy360 is the program that puts on these ION events. We're also working to help foster and kind of bootstrap, get started, the best current operational practices efforts around the world. And this year we launched a new project focusing on operators and the IETF and bringing operational input, or more operational input, into the IETF process. I'm going to talk a little bit about the Deploy360 program here before we get started. Really what we're trying to do here is bridge the gap between IETF designed protocols and standards, which are actually written typically more for software developers and the folks building equipment, and not so much for actual deployment. So for example, like a routing protocol like OSPF, the RFC itself is written to show folks how to design the protocol, how to build it into software and hardware. And what we try to do is then bridge that gap and bring actual real world deployment experience into the equation to show people how to deploy and make operational in their networks these technologies. We do this by focusing on what we, first adopters, the folks who go out and deploy these technologies first, and then share the information that they've learned with the fast followers, the folks who are now deploying these technologies. We do this through kind of 4 big pieces. The web portal is the heart and soul of the Deploy360 program. That's where all the technical documents, all of the informational resources are. There's information specific to different audiences and different technologies. We also have blogs and a lot of social media integration. Social media then becomes another big piece of this that we use for a feedback loop to be able to communicate. Speaking engagements are a way to get out in person and talk to people. And then, of course, the ION conferences like we are having here today. The web portal, the URL is here on the screen. Again, we're focusing on technologies that we sometimes like to call broccoli technologies. They're technologies that everyone knows is good for them, but you may not want to eat yourself. Things that we need to deploy for the good of the Internet, but that get better and better the more people deploy them. We're looking at IPv6, DNSSEC, securing BGP, TLS for applications, and also anti-spoofing. And on the website, it's broken out not just by the topics themselves, but also by the specific audiences. So the folks who may want to see this information. So whether you're a network operator or a protocol developer, a software developer, content provider, data center operator, a government regulator, an enterprise customer, there's different sections that have information that hopefully is relevant directly to you. Then we also have a blog that keeps up with news and events on all these technologies. And of course, the social media integration that I talked about. We kind of try to be everywhere we can on social media. And again, the real purpose here is to provide a feedback loop to allow two-way communication so that we're not just sending out blog posts and technical information, but you can also talk to us and tell us what you need. If you have new requirements, if there's things, new features, new resources, new tools that we could bring to you to help you deploy these technologies, we'd love to be able to do that. Again, speaking engagements are another way to do that. We come out and share our expertise, but also it's great to be in these locations where we can come talk to you face to face and again, get that feedback on what we're doing right, what we could do better, and how we can best help you. And of course, the ION conference itself, like we are here today, where we bring in those folks who have deployed these technologies and put them in the same room with the folks who want to deploy the technologies, really kind of mixing them together. Some of the recent events, ION Toronto at the end of last year. This year we've been to ION Djibouti in East Africa, ION Belfast up in the United Kingdom, and then also just a couple weeks ago, ION Santiago in Chile, in Latin America. So where are we going from here? Really, we're going to continue to provide more and more content. We're going to provide technical resources and case studies and things, whatever they may be, to help you deploy these things, including adding features based on your feedback. Of course, that includes specifically your feedback today. Feel free to let me know what we can do better or what we can do for you personally. We're also working on translating things. We're starting with the UN languages, and we'll move down from there, trying to translate into more languages to make all of this information more accessible to more people. And of course, continually blogging and social media to make sure that everyone is aware of what we're doing and has a way to see that information and communicate with us. And that's where you come in. We'd really like you to check out the site, and if you have deployed one of these technologies, right, if you've gone out and done anything with IPv6 or DNSSEC, securing your BGP, adding TLS to applications, or building up anti-spoofing measures, we'd really love to hear that and get that information, get case studies, learn the lessons that you've learned, and share that with everyone else. And also, for those folks who are deploying these technologies, we want to know how we can help you, what new features may better help you deploy these technologies. Our email address is here, deploy360 at isoc.org. And we're always welcome to hear feedback. Also, again, like I said, on social media channels as well. Feel free to let us know. Really quick look at our agenda here. We're going to go straight through 3 hours of content. We're going to start with our keynote on talking about the end-to-end principle. We're going to look at the business case for DNSSEC. I'm going to talk a little bit about best current operational practices, which I mentioned earlier. And then we're going to have a panel discussion on IPv6 in this region. And then we'll close it out just before lunchtime. Before we move on, I really want to thank Affilius, who has signed on this year to be our series sponsor. The reason we can have these ION conferences around the world is in large part because of their support. So thank you to Affilius. And with that, I'd like to ask Dr. Jin Miyokawa to come up and give our keynote.